Did you know that autism is a complex brain disorder that often inhibits a person's ability to communicate, respond to surroundings, and form relationships with others? Autism refers to a broad spectrum that affects each individual differently. Therefore, it is important to see their possibilities, not their disability. April is National Autism Awareness Month, and I wanted to bring on a mother to discuss her journey of raising a child who has autism. So guys, please welcome Miss Shanielle James to the show.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Thank you so much for tuning in to Miss Drea. Listen, I have an awesome segment for you all today. I have Miss Shanielle James here with us. So I wanted to get a parent here to just talk to us about, her trials and tribulations, the ups and downs that she has faced being a parent of a son who has autism. So please tell us a little bit about yourself, Shanielle.
Thank you. So I am the mother of Carter James.
Carter.
And he has autism. I work for myself so that I can provide him with the care that he needs. And yeah.
Okay, awesome. So you said that you work for yourself. So that was a transition that you had to make once you
definitely.
had him. Okay.
So basically, he was born during COVID, like right before, because he was born in January of 2020.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I just had to make a lot of changes.
Right. Okay. So you were working outside the home during your pregnancy?
Yes, during my pregnancy, I was working outside the home.
Okay. And so when you found out that you were pregnant, was it, the normal excitement,
No.
Gotcha. It was a
I love him, but definitely was like, well, I'm about to have a baby.
Gotcha.
So it was scary. It was scary. And I had a tough pregnancy. I was like sick all 3 trimesters. Oh, wow. It was hard to keep simple things down like water. But we got through it.
Right. So was he a full-term baby?
Yes, he was full-term. I did have to end up getting induced.
Gotcha.
Because I had preeclampsia. But he came out fully healthy. He was very tiny, which I learned that children with, specifically boys with autism, typically come out small.
Gotcha.
And then they grow really fast.
Gotcha.
And he sort of did that because by his first month, he was like blowed up like a fish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Okay. So full term, and so just walk us through the time as far as him as a baby. Did he reach all his growth milestones?
So he reached all his growth milestones at first. Everything was good until he was about 11 months old. He was eating, he was crawling, walking, babbling. He was doing everything on point until about 11 months. At 11 months, he stopped eating. And then I just noticed that he stopped trying to talk. And he just wasn't, it's kind of like, something's off, but you don't know quite what it is.
Right.
And so I took him to the doctor, and she actually said that he was a pandemic baby. That is a coined phrase now. And so that was why he wasn't really talking and why he wasn't really doing certain things. And at first, I went with that.
Because you're thinking she's the professional.
Right.
She knows what she's talking about.
It wasn't until he was almost 2 that I actually got the inkling that he might have autism.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you said he was doing everything. So he was rolling. He was and so at 2 he just stopped talking. You said he stopped eating.
So at 11 months, he stopped, and I took him to the doctor, but she said that everything was normal because he was a pandemic baby. And then I actually started dating someone who I'm still dating, and I was like telling them different things about him, and he kind of was like, he has a degree in psychology. So he was kind of like, oh, I think your son might be autistic. Based on the things that you're telling me, I think your son might be autistic. So I ended up taking him to a different doctor. So I got him a new doctor, and I ended up taking him to a different doctor, and she immediately diagnosed him. She immediately was like, just from the few seconds that I've been in this room with him, I can tell you right now, he's showing signs of autism.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what was your response? Well, I know, as like you said, you started noticing some things, because I know as parents, we want our kids to be perfect. We want, everything to just kind of flow in order. So what was your, because you were already leading up to it, how were you feeling that you started seeing these signs?
At first, because I really didn't understand autism. Like, I knew about autism, but I didn't really understand it. So for me, I was a little sad because, I'm like, what does this mean for him and his future and, what he'll be able to do? And then I kind of started feeling like, well, what did I do wrong to cause this or whatever like that? And that was kind of like when I initially found out. So yeah, I was a little sad.
So when your friend that you was dating, when he said that he felt like, so what was your response to him?
So that's when we started talking about the initial doctor and like the things that she was telling me, and he was just like, I don't want to discredit her, but if these specific things are happening, I think you should get a second opinion. So that's what I ended up doing, and sure enough, he was diagnosed. Because by the time he got towards turning 2, it was a lot of things I had noticed that he wasn't doing, mainly talking. Gotcha. To this day, he's 3 and he's still nonverbal. So that was a big thing because, like, not hearing him say mama and things of that nature. So it's like you just know something's not right. So it's like I knew something was wrong, but I just didn't have any idea what it was until he was diagnosed.
Wow. So once you found out, what was your steps as far as like starting to get him the support he needs and resources?
It was hard. It was really hard because during this time there was an influx of children with autism. So that thinned out the resources significantly, and it made it harder for me to get, him the care that he needed. So at the time, he was with a Mir group for his insurance, and they just had all these crazy loops that I had to jump through to get him officially diagnosed, because they didn't accept the pediatrician's diagnosis, right? I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. They didn't accept the pediatrician's diagnosis, so I had to literally switch his insurance because I had found a psychologist willing to diagnose him in a timely manner so that I could get him in the therapies that he needed. So I ended up having to switch his insurance so I could get that diagnosis, got the diagnosis, and everything was uphill from there.
Wow. So, and I know with working in the school education system, we have the Bright from the Start steps. Is that what he had to go through, the Bright from the Start?
No. So it was a little different for him. So basically, once he was diagnosed, his pediatrician then gave him a referral for ABA, and he just immediately, as soon as it became available, started ABA, which was last November is when he started.
Gotcha. Now with autism, and I'm not too keen on, I know we studied it. Is it a brain disorder, or what is it?
It's definitely more cognitive. It's more like, you have these different signals in your brain, and for someone with autism, those signals can misfire.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So a lot of times, like even with, because he has food aversions, so even with eating, like sometimes I can see like he wants to eat, but there's just something telling him not to eat. So it's kind of like almost at a war with your own brain.
With your brain. Wow. So what are you giving him? Is he, and I know some autistic kids, they're more sensitive to the way things are, like if it's too mushy or if it's too hard or if it's too crunchy. It was his.
So for him, he does not like physically eat much at all. So I blend him fruits and vegetables, basically a smoothie, and I add Pediasure to it to make sure he gets the appropriate amount of protein. And then he has these chips that he likes. They're called Snap-Its. They're made by Cheez-It. He loves those. Those are like one of the main things that he'll physically eat. So he'll eat those as like a snack, and then he loves drinking water. And that's pretty much what he's living on.
What he's eating now.
Smoothies, chips, and water. And occasionally juice. So
Gotcha. So as far as I know, you said like he blew up after his first month. Like weight wise now, is he still like at the?
So he is 3'3" and about 48 pounds.
Okay, so he's still about the normal. Gotcha. So what is his day like when you're getting him up and getting him dressed? How is he as a child, first of all?
He's very curious. He has a very curious mind. You know, like when he's in the car, he's looking out the window, especially if he's gone somewhere he's never been before. His memory is really, really good.
That's good.
Like if he goes somewhere once, he's gonna remember it. If he meets you once, he's gonna remember you. Although he has autism, and he's at a level 2 for autism, so that's like moderate. He's very social. He loves people.
That's good.
Adult people. He's not very keen with other kids quite yet. Yeah, he's working on that. And he is just too smart for his own good, to be honest. He's really smart, but it benefits him, not me. Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing. Now, you said he's at a level 2. As far as, because I've known that the spectrum should be a broad spectrum. How is it, if he's moderate, what would be a level 1 or a level 3?
So level 1 would be needing a lot of care and help. Yeah, and then level 2 is moderate, so it's like they still need intervention, they still need help. And then level 3 is where they have certain features for autism, but they don't need as much help or intervention.
Gotcha.
So that's pretty much how it works.
Okay. Because I know I have some students knowing that some of them can be in the gen ed classroom and just receive, like you said, just a little support. And then I know some students that cannot be there in something what's called self-contained classroom, where they receive, you know, some of them are verbal though, but they just still need a little bit more hands-on. And then there are some that are the SIDPID that are need a lot more hands-on. So makes sense to know those different levels. And I was reading an article with a mom who has a son that's autistic, and she was saying like one of the obstacles that she had to overcome was thinking that he needed to be fixed. Like always thinking that there's something wrong with him, instead of just accepting that this is who he is, and it's, you know, there's nothing wrong with him. That he's just fine the way he is. We just may have to do things a little bit different. Yeah. Is that something that you felt like you had to go through?
No.
Okay.
I was fully accepting of him from the beginning.
That's good.
Once I learned and, you know, educated myself better on it, because like I told you, when I first found out, I was worried for him because I didn't quite understand what him having autism meant.
Right.
And so once I did understand, there was never a moment where I felt like he needed to be fixed. Like he used to do some of the craziest things that we as, you know, neurotypical people would find odd.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
like he would just like make these different sounds. I would do it with him, you know, so he wouldn't feel out of place.
Yeah.
And yeah, I never had that, you know, feeling like I needed to fix him, you know.
Gotcha. Well, that's good. And I think I always say that, you know, God gives us 9 months for a reason, because you feel this growing inside of you. And so you're loving it before you even see it. So it's like before he or she comes out, you already have that bond with them. So like you said, whatever I receive, this is it.
Yeah, that's it. No returns. No returns.
Exactly. He's like, no. That's good. So what are some of the things, what's like one of the funniest things that he's done? I know you said he makes the sounds, but one of the funniest things?
He has a tendency to, so although he's 3, he's a little bit delayed. So although he's 3, he still do things that a 1 or 2 year old would do. And one of them is he has a tendency, if he has the ability to get in anything creamy, or he's gonna smear it all over him. So like just a few days ago, because he's not potty trained yet, my mom had changed him, and normally we put all the diaper stuff in the closet so he can't get to it. But she forgot to put his diaper rash cream up, and it was like the big pound jar of Desitin, and he smeared it all over himself. Wow. He smeared it everywhere. He looked like a ghost. He looked like a ghost when it was all over.
It's the thick white kind. Look, yes. Look, I got pictures of my son doing the same thing.
And that stuff is hard to get off.
Yes.
It's so hard to get off. Because
it's like greasy and it's creamy and it's,
It's water resistant, I believe. Yeah, I had to Google how to get it off.
So what you have to do?
So I put him in the shower immediately, because that was like my first thought, because I didn't even know where to begin. I was just so like...
It was all over his face?
It was all over his body. He had put it on his clothes, his pants, his feet, his
face, he had clothes on.
Yes, it was everywhere. So I took his clothes off. I put him in the tub, but the soap was not getting it off. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to keep scrubbing him, because he was starting to turn red. So I'm like, let me Google how to get this off, because it was in his hair too. So Google said use coconut oil. So that's what I did when I took him out the shower. I lathered him in coconut oil, and it did the job.
And it started getting it off.
Yeah, it started getting it off.
Wow. Well, at least he did have a layer of clothes. Look, my son only had on a diaper, and it was all, everywhere. From the Desitin, he did Vaseline like that. He did. No, my daughter did the powder. So, yeah, look, just typical baby stuff. Look.
Yeah.
Their curiosity is going to get them into it. So I know you said you had to change the insurance. What other obstacles have you had to face as far as with getting him the support he needs?
Waiting lists. You know, waiting lists. He got diagnosed officially in July of 2022. He didn't start ABA until November of 2022.
Wow.
Just because, you know, like I said before, there's a lot of kids now with autism, so the resources are just, it's not enough. And you see other clinics and things like that opening up and stuff like that now, but before, everybody was playing catch up. So, you know, just sitting on those waiting lists, because I had him on multiple waiting lists, because I'm like, whichever one calls first. And, you know, while being on those waiting lists, not being able to really give him the help that he needed to make progress, because I'm not a professional. I'm just his mom. So there were things that I didn't know that I could be doing to better assist him in day-to-day living. So
wow. And I know you said as far as with the waiting list, I'm just thinking back to when I was in elementary school compared to now. You didn't have many kids that were on the spectrum or diagnosed as being on the spectrum, and now it has multiplied. I did see a study. It says back in 2020 it was 1 out of 44 students by the age of 8 will be diagnosed on the autism spectrum. Now it's 1 out of 36. And so, like, the numbers are increasing and increasing because I don't even know. And I'm just wondering, like, what is the reason? Is it, have you come across anything that's saying, like, what's the cause in this increase? Are they changing the diagnosis or the categories or something?
So, to my understanding, there are 2 major lawsuits out right now, one with Tylenol and one with baby food. And they're saying that both have been connected to causing autism, Tylenol being the biggest one. So, like, if you were pregnant and you were using Tylenol, that could have been a reason that your child developed autism.
Wow. And I know in the past it was the vaccinations. A lot of people stopped getting their kids vaccinated because they say it was leading. And I can't remember, was it the tetanus and rubella shot, because they said most of the kids were being diagnosed by the age of 2, and that was the age that you got that vaccination. And so it's so many different, I guess I call them conspiracy theories. Yeah. But until they do the research and until they really find out what's the cause or whatever.
Right, because I don't think they actually know, like, how it's developed.
How they can pinpoint.
Yeah, they haven't pinpointed that yet. So it's something that's still being highly researched right now, especially with the influx of how many people have been born with autism, because now they're able to diagnose them as newborns. Like, he does occupational therapy and speech therapy, and I've, like, seen babies come
smaller and smaller.
Yeah, wow. And I've seen babies come in. I'm like, wow, like, you know, I didn't even know you could diagnose them for it that early, but now they're able to do that.
Wow. And I'm just thinking about, like, you know, they could diagnose babies with Down syndrome, you know, as soon as and sometimes while you were pregnant, they could diagnose those certain things. So, well, I guess that means that the research is kind of improving, so they can go ahead and pinpoint, like, what is it that's causing it? Because, like, with Down syndrome, it's the extra chromosome. Right. So, like, with autism, what is it? Is it, like, something medical, as far as, like you say, with the Tylenol and that, or is it something else that, I don't know, that we get exposed to? Right. Something that could be environmental or different things like that. Right. Wow. So as far as he's 3 now, so I know Georgia has the pre-K program. What are the steps for him for the future?
So I'm at that point where I'm having to make those decisions. And I am at a crossroad, because if I put him in public school, I would have to put him in now, and he would get an IEP. He would be in the IEP. Or I can leave him in ABA until he's reached certain milestones. Okay. Or there's actually a school I've been looking at called Joseph Sam's. It's a school for special needs. And they have, like, occupational therapists there, speech therapists there. They have pretty much all the medical professionals that they'll need there. And they keep them there until they're able to be integrated in normal school. Gotcha. So I'm still deciding.
Oh, yeah, you got some decisions to make. Now, as far as with that school, do you get, you know, is it private? Is it public? Do you have to pay for it?
It is private. Okay. You do have to pay. They do have scholarships as well, though. Yeah. But it is private, so you would have to pay.
And what about the time? Because I know some kids don't, you know, are not able to be in a school setting for the full 8 hours. Would it be 8 hours or?
Well, he's in ABA now for 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He goes in at 8. He's done by 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. And he loves it.
That's good.
He loves it. I do too, because by the time he gets home, he's ready to go to bed.
Okay, well that's good. They keep them active. Now, academically, are they training him on the system? I can't remember what it's called. Where he like selects what he wants and it speaks it.
No,
not yet.
So they're doing for him So based on what I've been told is because he still makes vocalizations, there's still a strong likelihood that he will speak at some point in time. So they don't want to limit him on that. So what they actually have him on is PEC, where it's like a picture form of communication.
Yeah.
So he has like a binder and there's like all these pictures in it. And he's able to pick what it is he wants or need in that moment.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's not the electronic one. He has the paper one, and so he sees the picture and he can reference that. Okay. Are they teaching him any sign language?
Yes.
Okay.
So, well, they aren't necessarily, but I've taught him a little bit because I don't want him to know signs that I don't know, because that defeats the purpose.
Gotcha.
As I learn sign language, I teach it to him. So he knows thirsty, no, all done, more, eat, hungry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Well, that's good. When I had an in-home daycare, that's what we would do when we watch videos of different things, and we would learn the alphabet. And so I have my students in class. I have one student, and so the alphabet that I have on my wall has the sign for each letter. And so they do like that, and so they do this if they need to go to the bathroom. But I think it is beneficial to be bilingual. I know people may think, okay, well, sign language, yes, that's a whole nother language in itself. So it really is a benefit being able to speak and being able to sign those languages. So that's good that you're taking the initiative. And I think it's important as a parent, instead of waiting on the system or waiting on the school to provide, it's like, no, I see that we can use this, and so let's go ahead and get started on it. So that way, if they decide to start teaching him, he'll already be ahead of the game. So that's good. Now, does he, when you call his name, he responds?
Yes,
he knows his name. So, gotcha. What are some other things that you have to teach him? Because I know at 4 or 5, we start teaching them like phone numbers and address and different things like that. So how do you kind of get around that, or how would you expose him?
It's so funny you asked that, because I just had a conversation about that with my mom. He's not at the point where he would be able to learn phone numbers or addresses or anything like that for emergencies.
Right.
So right now, I'm just at the mercy of the facility that he's in. So if he's at ABA, or if he's in occupational therapy or speech, whoever he's with at the time, like he's in their care, because there's not really much that he would know how to do or that I could teach him to do in the event of an emergency or anything like that. And that's scary.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, do you put the phone number in his shirt tag? Is there something else that you could do to make sure it's on him at all times, or I don't know.
For the most part, especially with him being so young, he's never alone.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that I wanted to do when he starts school was, having, even if he can't use it, having like a regular track phone with all of our numbers programmed in it. So me, my mom, my brother, anybody that would be able to get to him in an emergency or anything like that, and just letting all the adults present know that, so that way, they're not like, who is this child? What are we supposed to
do?
Because he's nonverbal, so he wouldn't be able to tell them anything.
And one thing I would say, and because I don't want to say as a precaution, but just to know, even in the private school and the regular school system, you think that everybody in the building knows But no, because you have subs that come in, you have teachers from a different class that may go in to service him. So it is important to make sure that you have something, because in an emergency, first, you're not thinking clearly. And so you just have to make sure you create some type of routine. And I just see that working in the school system and knowing how the turnover rate is high, especially in those the MOID classes. Some of them, it depends, because it takes a special person to be able to service those kids. But just making sure that something is in place. If this was to happen, you already got his binder, or you got this phone, you got something that follows with him everywhere he goes, so that you all know how to get in contact with me, or if there's an emergency. Now, as far as childproofing the house, what what extra did you have to do? We know the little socket covers, and we know little stuff like this. But look, I couldn't put none of this up until now. I have a 13-year-old and a 21-year-old. But before, no ma'am.
So. It's so hard with childproofing with him now, because he's so capable. He's so capable. Like, if he can't reach something, the way his mind works is, oh, let me just grab this chair, put it here, and crawl up it, and then I can reach it. So like, typically I have locks on the refrigerator. I have locks on the cabinets. Right. He fortunately does not know how to open a door. Like, he knows how to do it. He just doesn't have the grip yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to open a door. So certain closets, I keep dangerous items in there, so he can't get to them. And then I have like this. It's like a foam material. You can put it around sharp corners and edges and stuff like that.
On tables and stuff. Okay. Yeah. Wow. So is he when he gets ready to go to school, is he, excited? I know you said he loves it. Is he a morning person?
He is not a morning person. If he wakes up on his own, then he's a morning person. But if you wake him up, then he's no longer a morning person. He wants to go back to sleep. He's like, I haven't gotten enough sleep yet.
Gotcha.
But once he's fully awake and aware of what's going on, because he's smart, he knows, okay, she's getting me up, there's only one or two places I'm going.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So he doesn't have fits or anything like that. Like, he's upset and he doesn't want to go. I never have to deal with that, fortunately.
That's good.
I see it, but I personally don't have to deal with that.
That's good. Now, is he helping you get himself ready? Like, is he, able to put his hand in his shirt or different things like that?
Yeah. Okay. So he'll put his hands through the shirt and stick his feet out for me to put his socks and shoes on, and he'll pick his legs up to put them in his pants. So he definitely helps with getting himself dressed.
That's good. And so I'm just thinking, like, he has the ability to learn all the, make all these milestones. It's just the voice. And so do you think, is that like the only, well, no, you say he is delayed a little bit as far as like, because he's 3 and he still has like the mentality of a 1-year-old. But some of the other stuff he seems like he's advanced in, or he's on, level. Wow. And that's what kind of, I don't know if it's confusing or amazing or what, like, he got this, but like this part is not. And then like right here, he's in the middle of this part. And it's kind of amazing to see some kids as far as they can get things just like that. And it's like, well, why you can't get this? And it's just that cognitive ability that kind of stops them from.
Like, with the goals that are set for him with his learning in school, ABA, speech therapy, occupational therapy, he's met all those goals.
Wow.
But he's not at the point he needs to be to move on to new goals. So they're literally creating goals for him at this point, because he's a really fast learner. He's really good at imitating. So if you show him how to do something, he'll know how to do it. He loves puzzles. And he's really good at doing puzzles and stuff like that. And that's why I say he's really smart. He's definitely really smart. His critical thinking skills are really good too. It's just more on the social and communication side that he's struggling with mainly.
Wow. With his speech therapist, what is he like? What are his goals? Because I know they ask, some of them have the WH questions, and some of them are speech, like vocally. So what were some of the goals that he's mastered?
So like one of the things that she does with him is like functional play, because he didn't used to play with toys properly. And that's where I was like, he was kind of destructive at first, because he didn't know how to properly, like a car, he used to didn't like drive the car, he would throw it. So she worked on like functional play with him, and then like teaching him his body parts, like head, toes, knees, and stuff like that. She'll sometimes give him like a Mr. Potato Head and like let him put
it back together.
So to make sure he knows, like, okay, the arms go here, the legs go here, the nose goes here, and stuff like that. And he's really good at that. And she actually does teach him signs as well. And she listens to the sounds that he makes to see what sounds that he already have down, to see what other sounds he needs to work on.
Gotcha. So if she's listening to the sound, I'm just kind of thinking like the process as a parent. Do you work with him, or does she work with him as far as like holding his mouth to say? I know you said he didn't say mom. Like, can she show him like say mom? And does he kind of like, can he move his lips? Is that something that he works on?
So now where he is at, he can say mama.
Okay.
But he only says it in distress. So like if he's not like, if he's like having like a meltdown, crying, or he's hurt, then he'll say it, but it's not like clear, and then I do try to show him with my mouth how to say words and stuff. And he normally will touch my mouth to see like how I'm doing it. But he's also like, his personality, he's very selective. So it's like I say all the time, I'm pretty sure there's things that he can do that none of us even know he can do it, because he's very selective.
He doing it when you're not looking. Like, look, I don't want her to know that I'm doing this right now, because I want her to keep,
Believe it or not, that's kind of how he was with the puzzles, because in occupational therapy, he would do the puzzle by himself with no problem. But at home, he would act like he needed my help.
He want that attention.
Yeah, he would act like he needed my help. And I'm like, nope, I got a video on my phone and you doing this puzzle. Yeah. So I know you can do it by yourself. So, yeah.
So what's the biggest puzzle like he's done with the most pieces?
So he has multiple puzzles, but one of the ones that he does with ease, it's like matching animals. So he can match the animals, and then another one is matching shapes. So he can match the shapes. Gotcha. I just bought him a puzzle with the alphabets and then a puzzle with the numbers.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that he's working on in ABA right now is color distinctions in the alphabet.
So you're talking about matching the animals. It has like the cutout, and he has to place it in there. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Well, that's good. And I just feel like, the more you keep, giving to him and exposing to him, then that just builds that cognitive ability. So that's good. I know my husband, he put up an article about some of the benefits you get as far as having a child that's autistic. Have you flown with him as far as traveling?
No,
not yet.
Not yet. I want to soon, because I want to take him to Seattle, because a lot of my mom's family is there. So a lot of them, like my grandpa hasn't met him yet. And then my brother that's in the military, he just got stationed in Seattle. Okay. So we definitely been planning to go out there, and I have been so nervous about taking him on a plane, because I don't know how he'll react to the high altitude, when your ears start popping and things of that nature. And although most people think like, oh, people are understanding, people are not understanding. People are not understanding. There have been times we've been in public and he may make a funny noise, or he might, because he's definitely attracted to bright colors. He might run to something because of the color, and people are like looking at him like, what is wrong with him, And some people will be like, oh, he's so cute, and and then some people will be kind of bothered.
Wow.
So it's like taking him on a plane and all these people, and I don't know how that's gonna go, but we're gonna do it. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yes. I will. Keep us updated. Wow. I know he said like with that article they give special treatment with kids or families that are traveling with someone that's autistic. They get moved to the front of the line and they get to go into a certain area. But like you said, I could see how some people would be bothered, like how did he get ahead of us, or how did, and it's like you gonna get on the plane too, just wait your turn, just
yeah.
And see, I would be that mom, be like, hey, don't worry about all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully it goes well. Now, is he bothered by the noise?
So he does have multiple sensory issues. So his main sensory issues are light and noise and sound. Gotcha. So like super loud sounds, he'll have like a sensory overload and he'll start to cry and stuff like that. He does not like sunlight. If it's too bright, that bothers him as well. He's not as sensitive to it as he is sound.
Gotcha. Now, I know we got on our blue shirt, so it represents autism awareness, and I noticed that, or I know that blue is, supposed to be calming. So, do you have like blue lights in the house, or?
I don't have blue lights in the house, but it's funny because blue is his favorite color.
Well, that's good.
And I learned that because when I would take him out, he would just be so attracted to things that are blue. Like he loves blue. He doesn't like yellow though. I learned that the hard way recently.
Gotcha. Look, that's the sun.
Yellow's a no-go.
Like the sun. Like,
Yellow and orange is a no-go for him with certain things. Yeah.
Wow. So with the sun, do you have like tinted windows in the car? Do you have like shades and stuff to kind of minimize that?
So I did have like a shade that you could put on the window, but he kept taking it down. So right now, don't have anything. Normally he will change his position if the sun is getting in his face and we're in the car.
Okay.
Because the back seat windows are a little tinted. It's mainly the sunlight from the front windshield that typically bothers him the most. So if the sun's coming in this way, he'll just look this way until it's gone, and vice versa.
So he knows how to adjust. He's like, I got it. I can. And that's what's so amazing to me, just to see them in their growth and how they become independent. And it's like, oh, okay. Look, he know what he's doing. And I try to tell some parents, because during the pandemic, we were virtual. And so I had about 20 students that were online. And so I would have parents like, well, she don't know how to do this. I said, wait a minute. So-and-so, show your mom how to do so. And she'd be like, oh, they know how to, they know how to get on your phone and get on, these different games and stuff. They can learn. And so that's good that he's showing, he can make those adjustments, and that he is, he's growing. What would be some advice or a piece of advice that you would give to a new parent who, who has a child that has been recently diagnosed?
You're gonna be stressed. There's no way around it. It's gonna be stressful. So finding a stress reliever is really important, because what you don't want to do is get overwhelmed to the point where you're blowing up at your child, or you're getting frustrated with your child. And also childcare. You don't want to just have any auntie, uncle, sister, cousin watch your child just because they're atypical. So, that comes with so much more. And yes, it's more of a hassle trying to get childcare and things of that nature, but the last thing you want to happen is something bad because they just didn't know what they were dealing with.
To do.
So,
right. Wow, that is major. With him, so when you have your alone time, I know he's in ABA, but you're working too, right? So when you need your alone time, is it basically your mom who watches him, or do you have other people?
I say all the time, my favorite part of the day is when he goes to sleep. Like, that is my favorite part of the day, because when he goes to sleep, that's typically when I get my time.
Your time.
I can, and that's if I don't fall asleep too, because I might be so exhausted that I'm out too. But most of the time, when he is, like, for example, weekends, it's hard to get me time when you have a child with autism, just because I know for him, example, he's very clingy to me. So if he wakes up and I'm not home, that bothers him. So as soon as I am home, he's on me like white on rice. Like, he doesn't want to leave my side. And that does make it hard for me to do things. But normally it's like, if he's craving that attention from me, I try to give it to him. So I put whatever it is that I'm trying to do or accomplish in that moment to the side and give him that attention and play with him. He does watch a lot of TV. More like it watches him. Like, he'll have the TV on while he's doing other things.
Doing something else,
But yeah, it's a challenge. It's hard. Yeah.
And listening to you, it seems like it is more of a challenge, I guess, with, like you said, with finding childcare and different things of that sort. But as far as with the clingy part, my son is not on the spectrum, and he look, he slept in our bed until 10, and I think that was it, because he gave that number. He was like, well, maybe I'll go sleep in my room when I'm 10. Like, this the boy that didn't had, baby bed, everything. You went from a baby bed to a toddler bed. You went from a toddler bed to a regular bed, and you still waited till you was 10 before you decide. So look, some of the stuff is basic. If he wasn't on the spectrum, you'll still be having to deal with it. So, but I think it is good, like you say, having that outlet, something that, a de-stressor, and just finding that time. Even like I said, if he wasn't on the spectrum, you would still have to wait until they go to sleep. And sometimes you fall asleep before they fall asleep. And then you be like, well, what happened to you? Oh, they all on the floor. So, well, you in the bed sleep. So, those are some of the typical, mom, parent things that happens sometimes. And I worked night shift when I had my daughter. And so, I used to be like, okay, I'm not even getting into bed. I'm just going to lay on the floor with you. That way we already down here, so you won't be falling out the bed. Different things like that. But yeah, I think, do you think it would be harder if you had a child that wasn't on the spectrum and then you had one that was?
No, I think it would actually be better.
It would be?
Yeah, because, like, one of his struggles is being an only child. Like, him being around more kids, like, even at ABA. So he doesn't even drink his smoothies as much at ABA because all the other kids are eating. So he wants to be seen eating just like them.
Okay, well, that's
good. For children with autism, I personally believe being around other kids, even if they do have autism as well or on the spectrum, it does help them because they're still able to look up to them and get like the normalcy of just being around other kids.
Gotcha.
So I don't think having a regular child or a neurotypical child and an atypical child would be harmful. I think it would be more helpful than anything.
Gotcha. Yeah, because he would be trying to see, well, if they can do it, let me see what I can do. And so comparing and then finding those areas of growth. So that's good. And I'm listening to you as you say, was it neurotypical and atypical? Because I know all throughout, our classes, like we had to change the language that we use. We had to change from saying, growing up, we said that some of those kids were slow. And so we don't use that language anymore. And we don't put the autism before the child. We say we have a child that's autistic, and it's all like, I'm like, okay. And I guess understanding that words are powerful, and that being able to understand the difference that, like we say, there's nothing wrong with him. He, you have like you say, a neurotypical child, and he's atypical. So I think that is a lesson in itself, knowing the right language, knowing what to say, and being able to identify the difference. Now, how old was he when he was officially diagnosed?
So he got his initial diagnosis at 1, but it was from his pediatrician. So he needed like a full diagnosis where there was like an actual diagnostic report. And so he got that when he was about 1, he was almost 2 when he got his full official diagnostic test done.
Right. So did he have to go to a psychologist to get all those testings done?
Yes.
How long did it take as far as like the testing? Was it a 1-day test or
it was 1 day.
Okay.
It was 1 day. So, it was 1 day in office, and then before we went in office, she did have me go through all these different questionnaires and things of that nature. And then the in-office appointment was mainly her observing him and his mannerisms and things of that nature, and how he was operating. So, yeah.
Gotcha. So did he have to do, because I remember this one test, like he had to like take something out of a box and put something in? Or
she had him playing with different things to see how he would play with it. She got down with him and tried to get him to do certain things to see if he would do it and things of that nature.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, is there a family history of autism?
So, to my knowledge, no, but at the same time, there's so many people that are misdiagnosed from back in the day, and there's a strong possibility. Like my brother does have ADHD.
Gotcha.
And there's definitely been a connection with autism and ADHD. So it could definitely be a family history. I just don't know the specifics. Right. Yeah.
Now, as far as resources, I know you have him in the ABA and you were on the waiting list. How did you get in, or how did you even find that location?
Google search.
Gotcha.
Like, honestly, you have to, because the thing is, no one's just going to be like, here you go. This is right. You have to search. You are your child's advocate. So what they get, because there's a lot of, and I learned this because I didn't know this. I just assumed that everybody moved the same way, but I learned this from the professionals. There's a lot of kids who are diagnosed with autism that don't receive any type of intervention or anything. And I didn't know that. I didn't, because for me as a mother, my mindset was, well, if he needs it, I'm going to get it for him.
Try to get it, yeah.
But it takes time. But once you're in it, it's so much better. One of the resources that I did end up using was Babies First.
Gotcha.
And they typically will get them diagnosed quicker. They will get them, because they have in-house speech therapists and stuff like that. So they can offer a lot of help when it comes to that. And then whoever does your child's diagnostic test, typically they'll have a lot of resources as well. So like his psychologist, with the diagnostic report, she also provided me with resources and things of that nature that I could use to try to get him into the therapies that he needed.
Wow. And for me, working in the system, and I know you said there are a lot of kids that don't get any services or anything, and the first thing would be like, your first thought would be like, do they just don't care? But I think it's a lot they just don't know. And then if they're, like you say, there's no manual, there's nothing laid out to say, this is what you do, this is what you do. If your child has autism, then you follow these steps. You just kind of got to feel your way around. And you got to put in the work. So how does it feel like having to be his advocate? Like as a parent, you know you're going to have to advocate for your child, but at this level, do you feel like it's, more stressful, or are you just like, whatever it is, whatever it takes?
It's nerve-wracking. Like his first few days at ABA, I literally wanted to call within like the first hour and be like, how's he doing? Is he getting along with everybody? Is he, because it's nerve-wracking, because it's almost like you build this kind of wall between the world and your child. You're the wall, and so when you start to send them out into the world a little bit more, it's very, very scary, because it's like in your mind, oh, he does not do this, he does not do this,
and he can't tell you if this,
so but realistically that can hinder them, because despite him being atypical, he's still capable of anything someone neurotypical is. It might just take him more time, or he might have to learn it a different way. So when it comes to being an advocate, you got to make sure you keep a balance, because you don't want to hinder your child. You don't want to be too guarding to where you won't open them up to new experiences that will benefit them, but you also still want to make sure you protect them and you're not just putting them into any old kind of situation. So it's a struggle, and it's a kind of learn as you go type of thing. But I love being his advocate. I love being able to foster his growth and be a part of the process. I meet with his therapist once a week and go over his details and things of that nature, of like what goals he's met, what he's specifically working on now. So I'm always in the know, so
that's good. That's good. Look, you need to be an advocate for more parents, because I feel the warmth in your voice, like in your energy, because it's like, I'm going to do whatever I need to do for my child. And not one time have I felt like you were going to say, something like, I can't, maybe anything that's negative or whatever. But I just feel like you have the strength, I don't know if it's coming from, your parent or your support system, but you have the strength just to keep pushing forward. Like, I feel like more parents need to see that, whatever, even if they're not autistic, but just a child in general, you need to provide that support. You need to provide that love, and, being an advocate by any means necessary.
Yeah.
And I just love your calming spirit. It's just like, okay, we're going to get it done. We're going to make sure we do what we need to do. But that is so refreshing. And Carter, you got the greatest mom. You got the greatest mom. I'm so glad that I got this chance to speak with you and to interview you and for you to just tell your story. Because he's 3, and I know, it's just a long road of just more progress and him reaching more milestones. So I can't wait to just see him and see his growth and just to stay connected with you. So Thank you so much. I appreciate this. I really appreciate you. So listen, is there any final words you want to share? Share your handles or anything like that?
If you need pet care services, please go to petforia.com.
That's
petforria.com. And then the last thing I want to say is give yourself grace. It's a bumpy road. Like, I know I make it sound easy and I make it sound like, it's not that big of a deal, but I can tell you there were days where I just cried because I didn't know what to do next. There were plenty of times where I just was so overwhelmed because I felt like nothing I was doing was working. Right. But you have to give yourself grace, and it's just like, as long as you don't quit, you'll see results eventually. And find the positive in everything. When negative situations happen, because they will, try to find the positive and just remind yourself, like, today is today and tomorrow is tomorrow, and there's endless possibilities in tomorrow always. So
it's new grace every day. So look, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Remember, Petforia, hit her up if you got an animal that you need pet sitting. Look, she deal with big dogs, little dogs, all of that. So is it only dogs, or do you have other
No,
animals?
I work with all animals. Dogs, cats, birds, rabbits. I've even worked with a pig.
Oh, wow. So
that was interesting.
She is versatile. You got an animal that needs setting. What about snakes and lizards?
they're we don't discriminate.
No, you don't.
We don't discriminate. We don't discriminate.
Gotcha. And I know like some animals don't need someone, all the time, but I'm just thinking like if it's a long term, like so
they gotta be fed.
Yeah. At
the minimum. So yeah.
All right, so y'all hit her up. And listen, thank you all so much as we bring about awareness for autism. Thank you for tuning in to Miss Drea. Remember, you can like, share, hit the bell, subscribe, leave a comment. If you have questions that I can forward to her, if you have a family member or you yourself have questions about servicing a child or advocating for a child that has autism, let us know and we'll try to get you connected with the right people. And once again, I am Miss Drea, and I will see you next time. Smooches! Does he like animals?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. Have you ever taken him on a sitting? Or?
Oh yeah, in the beginning, I definitely used to have to take him with me to bookings. Mm-hmm. Definitely had to stop doing that though, because it would just be a lot, because their house isn't built for a child with autism. So it's like so much. Yeah, it was so much stuff he would try to get into and things of that nature, and I'm like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to figure something out. So him actually doing ABA was a huge deal for me, because daycares didn't want to take him. And with him being autistic, they would tell me, oh, we don't have the expertise to properly care for him, because they can't outright deny me because of the Disability Act. They would definitely choose their words wisely, but they were basically just not accepting him because he was autistic. So it was really hard with childcare in the beginning. So the ABA really made a huge difference for me.
Yeah.
When it came
I didn't know it was a full school, like a full time, like you say, from 8 to 5 or 8 to 4, whatever. So what that is, that's good.